Aloha and welcome to Action Island. I am Gilles Gallant. It is week 7 in the NFL, and as always, it's Thursday Night Football to start the week, and we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. So I have got Grant Neiffer, Nick Giffen, Sean Koerner. They are joining me today, three of the best prop experts that you could find. They are going to give their two favorite bets for tonight's game. So here's how it works. The four of us, we give our two favorite bets. And then the other three of us, we vote on those picks and we're going to decide which bet we like the most to keep as a parlay leg. And then by the end of the show, we'll have a decent four-leg same game parlay for you for Thursday Night Football. Now, as we give out these picks, remember, we're going to be dropping quick slip links in the YouTube chat. So that way, if you want to tail any of these bets, you can take the click that link. It'll take you directly to the sports book and you can get the best odds and the best value. So, Grant, you're back with us. What is your two favorite bets for Thursday Night Football?
Now let's get started with some bangers. First one, Jamar Chase, anytime
Yes.
touchdown score, plus 145. Now, Chase obviously has been a carousel of Burrow, Flacco, and Browning over the course of the season, but Flacco actually looked decent, or maybe not even decent. He's going to throw the ball up. That's what he's going to do. He threw it 45 times in the last game, projecting for 38 attempts in this spot. So he's going to throw the ball a ton. 5.5 point dog here. Even lends itself more to a passing game script. Plus the Bengals run offense, horrific right now. Probably not going to run much at all. It's just going to be Flacco slinging it over and over again. And we've seen that over with his time with Cleveland this year and his time in Cleveland 2 years ago. So it's going to be the same basic thing. Flacco airing it out all game long. Chase had 2 of the 7 targets in the red zone last week, had a TD, has a TD in each of the last 2 games. He's very talented, and even with old man Flacco throwing it to him, they'll get it to him in slants, open space, and just target him all game long. So plus 145 for a TD is far too high. And next up, going on to the other side of the game, Aaron Rodgers over 29.5 passing attempts. You can find this between 29 and 30.5. But either way, I like the over on both. I'm projected for substantially more than that. Both these teams are near the bottom of the league in plays run per game, 28th and 29th. So something's going to give. And most likely on the Steelers side, it means drastically more plays during this game, which means more passing attempts for Aaron Rodgers. The Bengals defense is horrific on every single level. So he's going to be throwing the ball a whole lot. I'm projected for over 4 more passing attempts than this line here. So 29.5 minus 114 over at FanDuel, I think is the best line, has massive value.
Yeah, I mean, Flacco just peppered Jamar Chase last week, and really that's been the MO of Chase in this offense. Doesn't really matter who the quarterback is, Jake Browning, Joe Burrow, he's going to probably see 10 plus targets. So in a game where you're expecting a little bit faster pace, that obviously plays well into Jamar Chase's hands. And then, of course, like you said, Aaron Rodgers should be able to carve up this Bengals secondary, given just that they're pretty inept across the board. So, Sean, Nick, we got to take a vote. Are we going to take Jamar Chase to score another touchdown, or are we going to take Aaron Rodgers over 29.5 pass attempts? So let's take a vote. All right, Sean, Nick, I'm going to ride with Jamar Chase. There's no way that I'm not going to pass on that. All right, hold on. All right, I've got Jamar Chase, Rogers, Danica's ex-boyfriend. Oh my God. Okay, all right. So if you didn't pick up on that, he is voting for Aaron Rodgers. Nick is. So 2 votes for Aaron Rodgers, Jamar Chase. Grant, we didn't get the Jamar Chase touchdown, so that's okay though. But we're still going to take Aaron Rodgers over 29.5 pass attempts in this game against this Bengals secondary. So that's the first leg of the same game parlay. Aaron Rodgers over 29.5 pass attempts. Now, Koerner, you are up. You've got 2 props here, both on the Steelers side. What do you like?
So my first one's Jalen Warren over 18 and a half receiving yards. I actually locked this one in at 16 and a half yards earlier this morning. It's my official play. It's my favorite of the two. But, the Bengals have let 7 different running backs clear this number this season. They've just struggled in general letting pass catchers rack up yards after the catch. They've allowed a league high plus 1.12 yards after the catch over expected per reception. So that just makes them more susceptible to, allowing chunk gains to running backs when they get in space. And, with edge rusher Trey Hendrickson looking like he's going to miss tonight, that's a massive blow to an already shitty defense. So I think, Aaron Rodgers is going to have the cleanest pocket he's going to see all season tonight. And when passing from a clean pocket, he actually targets Warren at a twice as high rate. Warren sees a 20% target rate when he's facing pressure versus 39% when Rodgers has a clean pocket. So if he has a clean pocket, he's more than willing to just dump it off to Warren, let him work his magic in space. So this is just an excellent spot for Warren to rack up yards. So I have his median closer to 21 and a half. And I had about a 61% chance at 16 and a half. I still like it at 18 and a half. And then my next one, sticking with the Steelers here again, Darnell Washington under 2.5 receptions. He's been trending up the past 2 games. He's basically been their lead tight end, averaging about a 60% routes run rate. So he's actually cleared this in 2 straight games. But it's still a murky 3-way committee. I mean, Pat Freiermuth is still there. I think Jonnu Smith has a good matchup tonight. Again, he's excellent at racking up yards after the catch, which the Bengals really struggle with. So what I'm expecting, what I'm projecting is the Steelers could rack up a ton of yards on fewer completions. So I'm not fading Washington on his yards. I'm right in line with that, but his reception prop specifically, I'm showing quite a bit of value under it. So I have about a 59% chance he stays under 2.5 catches here.
Yeah, and it's amazing the steam and love of the community for Darnell Washington, and just how it's changed over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm even seeing right now his anytime touchdown odds, 3-1 right now at best, which is insane because I think like 2 weeks ago when he was starting to get an uptick, it was maybe 7-1, 8-1, like when we would do touchdown show podcasts. So anyway, so we Nick Grant, we got to take a vote here. Jaylen Warren over 18 and a half receiving yards. This is the official prop from Koerner at 16 and a half, but we still like it at 18 and a half, or we're going to fade Darnell Washington taking under 2.5 receptions. So let's take a vote. All right, Grant, Nick, I went with Darnell Washington. I love the Jaylen Warren pick too, but all right, what do we get? Darnell Washington. All right, well, sorry, Nick, you got outvoted. But again, I just wanted to comment that I do like that Jaylen Warren play over 18 and a half receiving yards. But for this parlay, we are going to take Darnell Washington under 2.5 receptions. That will be the second leg of the parlay with Aaron Rodgers over 29 and a half pass completion. So we're hoping that he kind of spreads it around there. Nick, before we talk about Action Pro, I just wanted to know what was the reasoning maybe why we took Jaylen Warren here instead of Darnell Washington?
Well, I wanted to go with Sean's official prop pick that he tracked in the app, not his lean. So yeah, that's what I went.
That's fair. I sometimes I have that principle myself when you give out a luck rankings pick and then you have another pick. It's like, look, it's a luck rankings pick. What are we doing? Don't overcomplicate it. All right. So first up though, Nick, before we get to your picks, I just want to remind everybody, if you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription to Action Pro. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Koerner, other members of the Action Analytics team, anytime touchdown projections. You also get access to the best spread, money line, and total bets. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code ISLAND20 at sign up. One more time, that's ISLAND20 at sign up, and you can get $20 off of Action Pro. All right, Nick. Well, Thursday Night Football. I did mention that you do the luck rankings, but I guess you have to address this. Is this a luck rankings game, and what are the 2 picks that you like?
Yeah, not a luck rankings game, but I am still going to go with a total in this game. I am going with over 44 and a half on the total. Sean actually wrote this up in his game guide. He also took over 44 and a half, and I completely agree with Sean's analysis. And our, the expected scores, which power our luck rankings, actually like the over here. These schedule adjusted expected scores like the over. And as Grant mentioned, we have something called under possession here. These teams don't run a lot of plays, but also just in terms of time of possession, they've combined for around 53 minutes of possession. Well, there's a 60-minute game, right? Yeah. So both of these offenses are going to have more of the ball. That means more possession for Pittsburgh to face, quoting Sean, a shitty Cincy defense, and more possession for the Cincinnati Bengals to at least try to do something.
All right. Well, shitty defense, more plays, and 7 minutes of expected possession. So really like the over 44 and a half here. So Nick, that's your first bet. What are you looking at for the second one?
Yeah, I'm going to go over 44 and a half again, but this time it's with Chase Brown's rushing yards.
Okay.
And I'll disagree with Grant a little bit. I don't think the Bengals aren't going to run the ball. We have, yes, Pittsburgh, or sorry, the Bengals are going to throw a lot. We have them around 2-to-1 pass to run ratio, but that still is going to give Cincinnati around 19 total runs in the game, and Chase Brown gets around 70% of those runs. So we're looking at 12, 13, even 14 runs for Chase Brown. And this year, he's faced an absolutely brutal schedule of opposing run defenses. And this becomes, and Pittsburgh is a good run defense, but this becomes either his easiest or second easiest matchup of the season, depending on how you slice it. The run game has gotten better over the 6 games. In the first 3, they were at 2 yards per carry. And in the last 3 games, Chase Brown was at 4 yards per carry. Cincinnati, they also lean towards a man gap scheme, a running scheme around 60% of the time with Chase Brown. And Pittsburgh is by far the worst of the 7 defenses Brown will have faced this year versus that man gap type run scheme at nearly 5.1 yards per carry allowed. The other 6 defenses he faced started this year allowed only 3.9 yards per carry on those runs. And like I said, at 13 and a half carries, which is what the Bet What Happens Live model is projecting, he would need just 3.3 yards per carry at that number. And it fits, right? Grant's saying 38 pass attempts for Joe Flacco. And if that's 2-to-1 ratio, then it's going to be, like I said, 19 attempts for the team. Chase Brown gets about 70% of those, so 13 and a half carries makes sense. He doesn't need a high bar here for the yards per carry.
For sure. And I'm curious to see Chase Brown's involvement just to not necessarily limit Joe Flacco from having to throw too much, but just to get some of those turnovers down because those have been backbreaking from Joe Flacco. It doesn't really matter whether he was a Brown or a Bengal. So I just don't really want to put the ball in his hands too much. But of course, at the same time, we do want some scoring and some touchdowns. So Grant, Sean, we got to take a vote. Over 44 and a half, but it's between 2 choices. We either take the game total over 44 and a half, or we take Chase Brown over 44 and a half rushing yards. So let's take a vote. All right, guys, which way did we vote? Because if you write 44 and a half, you're going to confuse me. So you got to tell me, is it the total or is it Chase Brown? I took over 44 and a half on the total. Sean, you jerk. What do you have there? All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. We're all consensus. Total. 44 and a half on the total. Chase Brown, another solid pick from Nick, though. If you want to tail that bet, we just dropped a quick slip link in the YouTube chat where you can tail that bet. So now I've got 2 touchdown props to wrap up this parlay. We can vote on these. I'll have one on each side. First side we're going to start with is T. Higgins. So right now his odds around plus 225. I just think both him and Chase have high upside in this offense to catch a touchdown. So T saw season high 8 targets last week with Flacco quarterback. 2 of those targets inside the 10-yard line. For anybody who watched that game, he was actually very close to scoring, tackled at the 1-yard line. And I think this is a matchup where you want Higgins just as much as Chase because Higgins historically has just seen his target share and yards per run go up when playing man coverage. And the Steelers, they do play man defense at the 5th highest rate, the 2nd highest rate of single high safety. So I think there's potential for T. Higgins to maybe catch them off guard over the top or even just in the end zone for an end zone target. But on the Steelers side, this is kind of parlaying into or playing into the Darnell Washington fade. I like Jonnu Smith for an anytime touchdown. He's around plus 360. I think this is a great spot for him to get back on track. I think in week 6 or week 5, rather, when they played in London, there was a lot made about that hip injury, but seems to be fully recovered from that. I mean, he ran the 2nd most routes in week 6 over Darnell Washington. And then this Bengals pass defense against tight ends. I mean, the defense has been terrible across the board, but tight ends as well. 5 touchdowns allowed to the position, 2nd most targets, 5th most catches to the position. And there's no Calvin Austin as well. So I think Jonnu could end up just seeing more usage in this matchup. So guys, we got to take a vote of how we want to round out this parlay with an anytime touchdown. Do we want to add T. Higgins for an anytime touchdown, or do we want to take Jonnu Smith for an anytime touchdown? So guys, let's take a vote. All right, guys. T. Higgins or Jonnu Smith? Which way are we going? Let me see here. T. Grant with the Jonnu pick. Okay. And just for reference, Grant, you did your touchdown video today. I believe you gave out Jamar Chase and Jonnu Smith. So Jonnu Smith will be the last leg of this parlay. But Grant, I might as well ask you now, like what, like, was there something specific about Higgins that didn't like tickle you, or is it Jonnu that's really like where you're feeling good about this?
I mean, I'm more on Chase than I am Higgins. I like both, but Chase is my preferred guy, and Jonnu is obviously a guy that I'm betting, so obviously I'm going to go with him. It's just, I mean, the Steelers are running so many tight ends out there
Yes.
all the time. Like, Jonnu's going to get a decent amount of snaps with no real wide
Yeah.
receiver, too. I mean, second highest snap rate behind Metcalf for wide receivers last week was Scotty Miller at 44%. So they're just running two tight ends at an abnormally high rate. And Jonnu's probably going to be used heavily in the receiving game because they're not going to need to use him to block too much because who's going to put pressure on Rodgers?
Well,
Not really anyone. Bengals.
they're one of the few teams I feel like if they could run four tight end sets, they would. Like, you know what I mean? So at the same time, I love Jonnu Smith here for an anytime touchdown. So let's recap this again. So it's Aaron Rodgers over 29.5 passing attempts. We are taking under 2.5 receptions with Darnell Washington. We like the over in the game of 44.5 and Jonnu Smith for an anytime touchdown. Right now, you can get that at 22-1 at Bet365, also 22-1 at DraftKings. It's important to note where we're getting this from because right now, Aaron Rodgers' pass attempts is the thing here where it depends on the sports book of where you go, whether or not that will let you parlay this. Those two books will allow you to do that. And we also did look into the idea of maybe using passing yards instead for Aaron Rodgers as opposed to the pass attempts. But that brought that parlay down to about like 18, 17-1. So it just wasn't enough value for us. And I think Grant obviously prefers Aaron Rodgers over 29.5 pass attempts. So again, this parlay 22-1 at Bet365 and DraftKings. So guys, that is all for us. I want to thank you for watching Action Island for Thursday Night Football. And we're going to be back here on the island on Monday. We've got another doubleheader to wrap up week 7. Buccaneers, Lions, and Texans, Seahawks. So we're going to try to build another parlay that night. So on behalf of Nick Giffen, Sean Koerner, Grant Neiffer, I'm Gilles Gallant. Aloha and bon chance.